What's up, nerds? Happy Monday. Hope you're all good. I've been having a series of very stressful weeks, and the worst part is it's almost entirely my fault. So, those of you who've been listening to my podcast over the last couple of years will know that I have a series of mental illnesses which have a tendency to fuck me up sometimes. ADHD is the obvious one, of course, but I've also got a bit of chronic anxiety and depression. Maybe. I'm always hesitant to say that I have any of the more serious mental illnesses because, as we all know, I've never actually been diagnosed by a professional, and I think it's dangerous to rely on self-diagnosis when addressing mental illness. Those of you who also struggle with this kind of stuff, do as I say, not as I do. Find an actual professional, not a YouTube video. But anywho, thanks to my chronic anxiety, I have this pattern that pops up all the time when I need to be adulting. During tax season, or when it's time to apply for scholarships, or just when I have to decide what to make for dinner. Because I already have this underlying chronic anxiety, my default way of dealing with stress is to procrastinate, which ends up leading to even more stressful situations, which leads to more anxiety. The most infuriating part about this whole situation is just how easy it is when I buckle down and take care of stuff. Like last Wednesday, I just forced myself to make 2 phone calls over the course of 10 minutes, and that was all I needed. Obviously, there's still other stuff that pops up that I need to take care of, adulting never ends. But by interfacing with problems I've been worrying about for months, a ton of anxiety just gone. Which I'll admit is a great feeling, but this got me thinking about all the other habits which are going to mess me up, and yet I do them anyway. Things like drinking coffee later than 5 p.m. or not bringing my water jug to school or work, or skipping breakfast every day, staying up till almost midnight, or the dozens of other things that I do on a regular basis despite knowing better. I sometimes wonder if humans just need some kind of vice to struggle with. It seems like as a whole we kind of just seem to trade one addiction for another as a collective. We go from alcohol to caffeinated and sugary soft drinks. You've got companies on one hand peddling the kinds of food that lead to obesity, and then folks on the other hand using body shaming to pressure people into expensive health fads and diets. The other day I saw this article from New York Times about UV nail dryers and how to reduce possible risk of skin cancer. My first instinct when reading this article was why do people even use these? If they can cause cancer, why would you continue to use something that has some risk of cancer associated with it? Oh, right. Convenience. I actually totally get that, to be honest. And I think that's the thing, right? I criticize other people for being self-destructive towards themselves or the species or the planet, but I then do the exact same kinds of things. As humans, I think one of the cool things about us is we're capable of choosing to go against our default inclinations. But we still have those inclinations. Rationally, I know I will feel better if I drink water first thing in the morning or cook a healthy meal, but intrinsically, I want something sugary to drink, or I want to order a pizza that will give me a tummy ache 6 hours later. And even beyond duties to myself, there are duties to my family, duties to the social order, even duties to the planet. There are things I know would be better for the climate, like going plastic free or not eating meat, but I don't do them because at the end of the day, I just don't feel like it. I'm sure this past month is not going to be the last time that I procrastinate on my responsibilities. I keep thinking that I've learned my lesson, but the reality is that going against your inclinations is a lot of work. Also, I think we need to have more patience for those who don't choose to fight against their inclinations, especially those when it comes to ecological responsibilities. It can be really complicated deciding what's best for the climate. It's a nuanced conversation that needs to be had. Plastic bags may not be one of those things that everybody is going to worry about, and maybe they shouldn't. And not to go all lefty on y'all, but I think that's why government regulation is one of the few effective ways of reducing things like energy waste or pollution or driving without your seatbelt. You can publish study after study showing why we shouldn't have cars that get below a certain mileage per gallon, or how not wearing a seatbelt increases your risk of dying in a car crash. But most people don't care enough to universally do the responsible thing. I mean, seatbelts are pretty uncomfortable, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna claim to know where to draw the line when it comes to government regulation, like when should a government step in versus when should they stay out of our lives. I think it's somewhere between like the points of whether or not I brush my teeth in the morning and whether or not Amazon gets to exploit its employees. But outside of that, you're not going to get much more progress from a 5-minute YouTube video, which is why I think we should really keep just having these kinds of conversations. Friends, I love you, love yourselves, and I'll see you all next Monday.